I talked to you earlier today. Hope you got your order all squared away. Looking forward to hearing how you like those things. So, and let's see. And Audrey is here. She's one of the reasons you guys get your packages so fast. She works out at our shop with us. So great to have you here tonight, Michael. Good to see you, Justin, Nick, Danny, Rob, and my wife Crystal has just joined us. So hey, babe. Hope you and the kids enjoy this, and tell Emmett he better get some of his models finished because he's going to some shows with me this year too. So, having said all that, let's bring Mike in here and let's talk about these model shows and things that we do. Now, this is Mike Baskette from the Plastic Model Mojo, and they've got a podcast. And I'm going to bring him in here and let him tell you a little bit about what they do. Mike, nice to have you here tonight.
Well, thanks for having me, Brandon. Look forward to this.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. So, who is the Plastic Model Mojo?
The Plastic Model Mojo is myself, Mike Baskette, and my co-host, David Knights. We're up in Kentucky, not too far from you.
Okay.
On the same side of the Mississippi, anyway.
What part of Kentucky?
I'm from Lexington.
Okay.
In the middle, and then Dave's from the Louisville area, which is along the Ohio River there on the central west side of the state.
Okay. Yeah.
We're about an hour apart, so we do everything remote, and we've got the podcast, Plastic Model Mojo. Hopefully, some of your viewers here are familiar with it. If not, we hope to make you familiar with it.
There you go.
It's a bi-weekly podcast all about scale modeling, and we've been going for about 5 years now. This is 4 years. This is our 5th season, and we're looking to mix it up a little bit and bring some new things to the table, and hopefully Brandon and the squadron is going to help us do that, and we're going to help you out too a little bit along the way.
There you go. Well, the last few weeks I've been talking about with everybody these the model shows, the IPMS clubs, all the different ways that we build these models. Here's my workstation. I build these models.
Mine's behind me.
Yeah, exactly. and it's the same with all of us. We've got our workbenches at our house, but there's all these other people like us doing the same thing. And these IPMS clubs, there's other model clubs. There's the AMPs. There's the figure clubs. Up in Louisville, you guys have the Wonderfest. I don't know if you've been to that show.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yep, I go to that every year. So you've got all of these different clubs, all these different shows, these contests, all these different ways to interact with other modelers, and to me it's a lot of fun. I go to several shows each year. There's a few of them that I go to every year, like the Nationals, like Wonderfest, and I look forward to going to those for various reasons. And I know you guys go to those shows, you talk to people. Tell me what you guys do with Plastic Model Mojo when you go to these shows, and what you guys do.
Well, typically we'll get a table, usually in the vendor area, and we'll set up our tablecloth and pull out all of our equipment, and we'll try to talk to some people on the show floor. And it's just kind of a cool vibe because you kind of get that background ambiance of all the people talking, and we have some recurring friends who we see at most of the shows in our region. We're in Region 4 of the IPMS, so there's a few local shows we hit when we can most of the time. And we just set up these things and try to find people to talk to, and then put it all together at the end and make a special segment for a future episode out of it.
Right. I got you. Now, if it's anything like this show, there's nothing normal about it week to week. But if you were going to interview me, I walked up to your table just as a modeler that likes building models, and I see you guys. What kind of stuff are you going to ask these guys when they see you at the shows?
Well, typically, if it's not someone we happen to know already, who we can just pick up a conversation wherever we left off last time we saw them, typically we approach people, either they have a build on the table or they're a vendor who's got something interesting and unusual that we might like to help spread the word about.
I got you.
And we'll like, for example, at the Nationals in San Marcos last year, we talked to the folks at Kinetic Scale Models.
Yep, Raymond.
That was that was one of the larger manufacturers we got to talk to. And we also talked to a gentleman from where was he from? I want to say Chattanooga. I can't remember, but he was making, what were they? They were laser cut paint racks.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And he was, he had a couple of in a configuration I thought was really interesting. They were wall mount. So we talked to him about his little small business he had going on and how people could get in touch with him. Another thing we do from time to time is when we're cruising the model room at a show, we might jot a note or put a little slip of paper by somebody's build who we are find, or the build we find particularly impressive, and get them over and let them talk about their model. Because when people do something grand, they sure like to talk about it.
Oh yeah.
And we like to facilitate that for them, and people usually get a big kick out of it. And we made a couple of show regulars out of doing that too. So we got some folks that come back who've been on the show 2, 3, 4 times that have come to us that way.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Now, you have a website, plasticmodelmojo.com.
Right.
And if anybody doesn't know about them or haven't heard those, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but you can go to your website and you can see past episodes. You can listen and see what was up.
Yeah, there's a huge embedded player there. You got it on the screen now.
Yep.
That's the website, plasticmodelmojo.com. It's got all the episodes there with the player. But you can really get to the show through any podcast app on your iPhone or your Android phone as well. And
you've got those
we also recently started uploading that to YouTube.
Okay.
So it's an audio podcast on YouTube. So it just puts our logo banner up there as a static image. But if you like to do it that way, you can do it that way too. And we'd like to get that. We'd like to get that going. So that's kind of new. We've only been on YouTube for about a month and a half now. It's getting a little steam, but it's still kind of small potatoes.
Well, there you go, guys. You heard him. Go follow the Plastic Model Mojo on YouTube. Give him a like. Subscribe to him. Now, Mike, on your page here under hosts, it looks like you've got a partner in crime, David Knights.
Yep, Dave's the co-host.
Okay.
And he's in Louisville. He's an attorney. That's his claim to fame. And Dave and I have known each other since like the early 90s, maybe even late 80s. I started coming up to Lexington, Kentucky as an engineering co-op student when I was in school at the University of Tennessee. And don't hold that against me now.
There you go.
I don't know if you're a bulldog or a rambling wreck, but or maybe neither one.
We're about an hour from the Bulldogs, about an hour from Georgia Tech. So there's all, and you know, around here you got Georgia Tech, you got Georgia, you got Alabama, you got. I mean, you were asking me earlier where we are. We're like 10 or 15 minutes from the Tennessee line. So you got all that too. So there's all sorts of fans pulling for various things around here.
All sorts of nonsense going on.
There you go.
Now I can't remember where I was. I started coming up here in the late 80s to the Kentucky, Lexington area through an employer through my college training. And I joined the Military Models Club of Louisville because there wasn't a club in Lexington.
Right.
And there's not one now again. And there was only one here for a very short time. But anyway, that's how I met Dave. And we've just, it's all gone from there. So 30 years or more.
Yeah. Well, I don't have a club in LJ, so I guess I'm club of one in LJ.
Club of one.
Yeah. But looks like you got at least a couple of guys that already listen to your podcast. So Carlos
thanks,
says
Carlos.
He's a devoted listener. So that's awesome. Well, Mike, I've got another guy backstage here that I'm gonna bring in to talk with us.
All right.
And talking about shows, you probably know him. Talking about shows. This is the guy that's in charge of heading up this year's IPMS Nationals up in Madison, Wisconsin. So this is Jeff Herne. Jeff,
Gentlemen,
nice to see you tonight. How are you?
Living the dream.
There you go.
Meetings. It seems to be the story of my life.
How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing well, Mike. How you been?
I'm good. Looking forward to your show, man.
It's going to be a good time. Sorry for my virtual background, but I think that people would disown me if they saw the state of my shop right now. So
hey, that's all right. We like bricks, and with it coming in and out of it.
Yeah,
I thought you were a Pink Floyd fan.
I am actually. Shorter of breath and one day closer to death.
Well, Jeff,
You probably just got off the phone with my co-host.
Which
Oh,
one?
I thought Dave Knights.
Yeah. No, Dave and I don't talk a whole lot unless I need legal advice, or if the IPMS board thinks that I'm in some sort of trouble for running
hopefully
my
neither one
mouth.
of those happen.
But no, it's been the board has been really good. They've kind of left me alone and just kind of let me run with it. We've been having a lot of fun.
Well, you've been busy, I'm sure. I got to say hello to one guy in here. Robert, nice to see you. He's been trying to make it to watch us on Wednesdays for a while now. So good to see you in here, and I hope your Dora build is going better than mine. I saw your picture, and you're making a lot more progress than me right now. So,
It's a lot of kit.
So Jeff, you heard us talking a little bit about, and I know you know what Mike and his guys do, but specifically talking about shows. For me, the biggest show of the year, and in fact, the biggest show of the year is usually, if not always, the IPMS Nationals. And this year, you're the guy in charge. And so it's going to be in Madison, Wisconsin, up where you are. And give us a little bit of everything that it takes for you to actually do this. If you guys have ever been to the Nationals, you know this is a huge show with just tons of stuff going on. Everything from vendors, a huge vendor hall, a humongous contest table with thousands of models, lots of people, foot traffic coming through. So there's a lot going on. If you've never been to a show, I'm sure if you're watching this tonight, you've probably seen pictures of an IPMS Nationals. So Jeff, now that you're driving the wheel, so to speak, to put this show on for all of us this year, give us a little bit of your life over the past few months and what it's taking to make sure this is going to be a great show like we all know it's going to be.
When we first got the idea, and I'll preface this by saying we run a pretty successful local one-day show. It's a 500 to 600 model one-day event, anywhere from 60 to 70 vendor tables. And we were getting to the point that the space that we were using was getting a little tight. So we made the comment to the host of the facility that we'd like to look at potentially doing a larger space for the next year. So the lady was kind enough to take most of the steering committee and the show committee. Said, "Oh, come check out this room. You'll love this room." And she opens up a door and we walk into basically what was a B-52 hangar. I mean, it was, I used to have a really good arm, and I don't think I could have thrown a baseball from one side of this room to the other. It was just that huge. It was 150,000 square feet, just ridiculous.
Wow.
And every single one of us at that moment kind of had that epiphany, and we just kind of looked at each other and said, we could do a Nationals here. And 6 months later, we got the bid for the Nationals. Anyone who's ever put together a one-day contest, you've got a bunch of basic components. You got one guy handling the vendor tables, 30, 40, 50 vendor tables, and 15, 20 vendors coming in. You got 300-400 models on the table, and you got your core of judges that you pull from the people that come to see you, and you got to make sure there's a hot dog vendor there and stuff like that. My biggest mistake that I guess I made was looking at it going, okay, this is basically just a one-day show 4 times over. And, all we got to do is just do our one-day show, and we're going to make it, 10 times the size and 4 times as long, and everything would be proportional because it would carry over. What I didn't really grasp was the 1,001 little things that happen in the background. The hotels and tour buses and the tours and shuttle buses and hotel blocks, which have been an absolute nightmare, not only for me, but for the organization as a whole. Going back, God, as many years as I can remember. I think my first Nationals was 05. I did a couple as a walk-in in in the East Coast of Virginia Beach back in the 90s, but '05 was the first one that I went to, and you can't really fathom the minutia that goes behind all of these moving parts. And that's what really kind of, has, I don't want to say it's really kicked us in the tail, but I think personally, I think I underestimated it. I know a lot of the guys on my staff are used to it because they're doing real world stuff that is of similar scope. But it's been a challenge, and I'm not sleeping. I'm working 3 jobs. The Nats is
Right.
a full-time job. There's no way around it. And I'm trying to run a business and be a father and a husband and a dog wrangler and everything else. And
There you go.
there's just so many hours in the day, and everybody wants everything yesterday.
Right.
And I think that's more of a societal issue than anything else. It doesn't matter what we'd be putting together, something of this scope. There's always going to be somebody who wants something.
Well,
So,
the good thing is 7 months from now, it'll all be over.
and yeah, and people can contribute to the send Jeff to the Bahamas fund.
Oh,
'Cause
okay.
that's where my tail is going after all this is said and done. I'm going to disappear for probably the better part of a year.
There you go.
But I understand why people do it.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be good. And you mentioned 2005 was your first nationals that you went to.
Yep.
Let me flip it up to Mike. Mike, I know you said you with the podcast you've been going to these shows. What about before the podcast? How long have you been a modeler? How long have you been going to these shows? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've been a modeler for most of my life that I can have memory of.
Okay.
My father and I built a monogram B-24 Liberator when I was probably 7, 8 years old.
Okay.
It was kind of interesting because it was from either the Sears or the JCPenney Christmas catalog, and I'd actually pointed to the model of one of the Blue Angel fighters, and somehow somebody had a bad angle on my finger and I ended up with the B-24, and it was okay. It all worked out, and I've never really stopped completely ever since. But to the question of the national convention, I think my first one was let's see, it was in St. Louis, so it's like 90 or 91, 1990 or 91, I think, and then after that was Atlanta, 92 or 3. I can't remember exactly which ones it was, but it's been kind of hit or miss since then. Once I had a family, got married and had a family, my national attendance kind of dropped off. I probably only went to 3 or 4 between that show in Atlanta in 92 or 3, whenever it was, and probably, it would be the Las Vegas National Convention.
Okay.
And I've not missed one since. So I was at Las Vegas, Omaha, and then San Marco, and hopefully Madison.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Yeah. Now, Jeff, you talking about 2005? Was that Atlanta?
That was Atlanta. Yeah, that was the first show that I went to. I was actually working for Fine Scale Modeler at the time.
Okay.
I was on their editorial staff. So that was the first show that I went to where I was there for the duration, and I had a function, I had a purpose. I had been to a few others prior to that, but it was a one-day thing, pay your walk in, walk around, hit the vendor room, and and you don't know anybody, so you make the rounds and you go home. But 2005 was the first one that I was there with a purpose.
Well, over here in the chat, I also see that we've got some of our other employees in here tonight, Lisa and Jay, and they want me to tell you, Jeff, that they used to live up there where you are.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
They used to live in Madison.
And, well, there you go.
They've got a lot of good friends still up there. Jay used to work for Monogram.
Okay.
Way back in the day, and so they were all up that way, and they've still got some friends up there, and then. So I told you, Mike, that I go up to Louisville to the Wonderfest every year.
Oh, yeah.
So Jay's kind of the one that got me started in that. and he was actually at the very first Wonderfest way, way, way back, and they go to that show every year. So
it's a cool show. I encourage anyone who can get there to go.
yeah, there's nothing like it.
Regardless of what genre of modeling you're involved in, chances are you've got some kind of pop culture nostalgia in your blood.
Yep.
And that's gonna get stroked at that show for sure.
Oh yeah.
Really, really a cool thing. I didn't get to go last year, but we've been a time or two. Dave, it's in his backyard in Louisville. So it's just a really a cool thing to go see, and some of the personalities who show up at that thing, and all the I think a lot of the LucasArts former model builders and things like that, and it's just pretty amazing, especially somebody my age who grew up with that stuff as a kid.
Yeah, that's our generation. Yeah.
And you usually see somebody dressed up. It's almost like Comic-Con meets IPMS Nationals.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to put it.
Well, and the crazy thing to me about it is, at Nationals we'll have, 2, 3, 4,000, whatever it is, models on the table, lots of models, and but that's aircraft, armor, cars, it's everything. At Wonderfest last year, they, if I'm heard correctly and understand correctly, they set a new record, but they had over 1,000 models in the contest, and that's all figures and sci-fi.
Pretty much.
So that's just nuts, but it's really neat. And to flip it over and talk about yet another type of a national show, do you guys ever get involved with the AMPS shows? They've got the AMPS, what is it? Armor Modelers Preservation Society. That's all, armored vehicles and whatnot. And they've got their national show. I'll be going to that this year. It's up in South Bend, Indiana.
Yeah.
I'm a vendor there as well, so I'll see you there. We'll get into some trouble.
Are you going to be vending things like this?
Hey, what do you know? Look at that. No, I will not be vending that.
Probably not that one.
Okay.
No, but I will be there with Armor Colors and SC3D tracks.
Okay. Yeah, Jeff has got his own line of paints. If you didn't know, Scale Colors is his paint line. So it's nice stuff, and check it out if you don't know about it.
And everybody's going to jump to the website right now, and my website crashed, and I've spent the whole day migrating over to a new web host. So if you go to scalecolors.com, it's not going to work.
Well, that's why I told him about you right now, because
just think of all the sales I'm going to miss out on.
Throw another wrinkle into your busy life.
and everything's ready. It's I'm not an IT guy anymore, but it's DNS propagation. So
I know all
they
about
got to
that.
move all of the license domain name stuff from one company to another. So I'm waiting for that to happen. They say it should be ready by morning. So
yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah, out of my hands.
I hear you. Now, Mike.
Yeah.
You're sitting in your model room. What kind of models do you like? What do you build?
Primarily 1/35th scale armor, which we were talking about AMPS. From AMPS inception up through about their 5th, maybe 6th show, I went every year with some guys, Dave included, from our club, and then it got spotty after that. And I haven't been in probably almost 20 years at this point. So it's on our rotation for this year. So we might see you both there.
Yeah.
That's the hope. They've already got a table for us, and that's the plan, to get up to South Bend. That's not too far from us, but primarily I build 35th scale armor, but I've kind of always had an interest in naval aviation, World War II naval aviation. Well, actually up through the Vietnam War with all the colorful high-vis Navy markings from that era. But currently I'm working on a 72nd scale Japanese float plane. I've got a couple other projects along that line ready to go. Based on my current job, I've started getting an interest in some of the real space subjects too. So I've started stashing some of those things back too. So
there you go.
I'm kind of all over the map right now, but having a good time.
Now, when you build your models, do you compete in the contests?
If I've got something done, I'm horribly slow. It's all about the fun of doing it for me. So,
All right. Well, I was
I didn't,
hoping
I didn't
you
get
were.
much done last year, but
Well, I was hoping you were going to say something to the effect of it's all about the fun for you, because that's something else I want to mention with Jeff's show this year. I say Jeff's show, you know what I mean? The IPMS Nationals this year. So they have put together something that I personally think is really cool, and they're calling it the Tiger Meet. And this is, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a part of the show, but it's not a part of the show. It's not a part of the traditional contest.
That is correct.
It is in a completely separate room, and it is for display only.
Correct.
There's no judging, no registration. You bring your model, put it on the table, smile, and talk to other modelers about your model. And the idea is just to have fun. So tell us a little bit about what that's going to be like, Jeff.
It's exactly what it's about. For those who attended the national convention in Chattanooga, Chattanooga had a phenomenal amount of space set aside for display only and special interest groups and group builds, and it was very well received. And I say it's unfortunate, but it actually, there's no other way to say it. It is unfortunate that the way the national convention works, that most of the time we don't have enough space, floor space, to dedicate to display only and SIGs and special interest groups. The vendor room and the contest room typically take up the lion's share of the available floor space at a national convention site. When we looked at our space, we only initially rented a small portion of the building. And then we started looking around and said, you know, if we rent this space, we could do this. If we rent that space, we could do that. So what ended up happening now is we have the entire facility. We literally have the entire convention center at Monona Terrace in downtown Madison. And we have 5,500 square feet, about enough room for roughly 1,000 models or so, specifically for display only, special interest groups. And on our website, nats2024.com, there's a running list of special interest groups that are going to be participating. So check it out if that's something that, I know Real Space is one of them, and we've got a B25 group build going, and we've got a Women in Aviation group build going, and there's the Operation Overlord group build that's being hosted by both the Model Geeks on one side and the Plastic Posse on the other. You do not have to be an IPMS member to participate in the Tiger Meet. You do not have to register for the convention to participate in the Tiger Meet. You have to pay your $20 walk-in fee that you would pay to get into the convention otherwise. But the rules are there. And you can bring your model in, as Brandon said, put it on the table, and you can, hold court and talk to other models and talk to other builders and be a part of the convention. Now, the logic behind this, and this is something that I alluded to earlier, it happened to me. I went to, I think, the first Virginia Beach Nationals way back in the 90s. And I didn't know anybody. I wasn't a member of IPMS, and I paid my whatever the walk-in fee was. I walked around, I bought a few things at the vendors, I looked at a bunch of great models, and then I left. And I didn't join IPMS for another 8 or 10 years after that. And you could put the impetus on me that I probably should have done something to, get more involved. But if I had had a model and been able to put it on the table and talk to other guys that were there, perhaps they could have set the hook in me, 10 years, a decade earlier. And I would have been a member of the organization much longer than I have been. So that was part of the reason for me doing it. We want these people to engage. We want the modelers who are just walking in, looking at stuff and then leaving. We want them to stay. We want them to talk to us and realize, you know what? These guys really aren't jerks. They really are a good bunch of guys to hang out with and share the hobby with. And So this is something for the first time ever at a national convention. You do not have to be an IPMS member to participate in the Tiger Meet. Obviously, if you want to compete in the contest and vie for the awards, you've got to register, be a member, and do all of the official things. But this is how we try to get people through the door and introduce them to the organization and the hobby as a whole.
Well, there you go, Mike. Now you've got more people to get to talk to, and they don't even have to compete. So it opens up a whole nother group of guys to do your podcasts with and interact with. And you're muted, Mike, by the way.
Had some noise from
There you go.
upstairs. Sorry about that. I think it's a great idea. There's the display and SIG area at this upcoming convention, and then in addition, maybe we can talk about it in a little bit. I'll come back to, somebody can come back to it maybe, is also the sheer number of seminars that are slated for this national convention. It's really off the hook. I think it's probably, I don't know, Jeff, maybe you know exactly, but it seems it's at least 2x what's normally been slated.
We have 44 booked right now.
Wow.
That's probably more than 2x.
We have
But
44
back to
seminars.
to the SIG and the display only area. I think you're right. It's an opportunity to bring people in, to get them engaged at the front end in the social aspect of the national convention and not necessarily the contest side of it. And I think it's going to be, I predict it's going to be a wildly popular part of the show. That's
Well,
my
I hope so. I've got my reputation riding on it. Don't let me down, folks.
Well, I've got a few models that I'll be bringing that I know are not contest worthy, so the Tiger Meet is like the perfect place to bring them. And you know, I just thought about too, so if you win at nationals, that model is now retired. I hope some past winners will bring some of those models for the Tiger Meet, and here's why. By the time we know on Saturday night that they won, as soon as the banquet's over, it's a mad rush for everybody to get in there and get their model. I don't have a chance to go back and look at those winners again. I get to see them in the IPMS journal a few months later, but to be able to see some of those models in person would be kind of cool. So the Tiger Meet would be the perfect place. Yeah.
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah, please.
Because I got an answer for that.
All right.
One of the things that the team had talked about was, how do we prevent that from happening? How do we get the best ofs, for example, best aircraft, best ship, People's Choice, Judges Best of Show, the theme award winners? So one of the things that we're going to try to do, and it's voluntary, we can't force anybody to do it, but we're going to put aside a set of tables, and when the banquet before the banquet actually starts, we're going to close the vendor or the model room to put awards out. I think the model room closes at 5 o'clock on Saturday. Don't hold me to that. I think we're going to actually kind of sequester the winners of the best ofs and ask them to move their models to a specific set of tables at the front of the model room, rope it off so that, and then ask them to stick around and hold court at their model at those tables for 20 or 30 minutes after the banquet is over, to allow people to come in and physically see the models that won best ofs.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a great idea.
It'll be voluntary. Some guys are going to be, to hell with this. I'm getting on the road. I got to be home tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that people see it as an opportunity to allow other people to get a chance of to see the winners up close and in person. Because let's face it, there are so many models on the contest tables. Whatever wins best of show, I mean, usually there's a general consensus among modelers as to what's in the running. I know that when Steve Hustad won with his triplane, the scratch-built triplane, I think that was in Omaha. Mm-hmm. The general consensus in the model room was everybody knew that was probably the one that was going to that was going to win. But a lot of modelers don't know that. A lot of modelers don't necessarily have that insight. So it's really cool to see that stuff. Best armor, best aircraft, best ship, best diorama, best sci-fi figure, car, miscellaneous, best junior, on the table, on a special set of tables so that people can come in and, get a chance to look at them.
Right. Well, that's going to be great.
Yeah, I hope that works out well. Hopefully the majority will participate in that.
Sure.
We said earlier, Brandon, that about folks like to talk about their models.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Hopefully that feeds into participation.
Absolutely.
This special award winner table.
I hope so.
Well, Jim says he would like to chat with you sometime. So, Jim, what I'd say is check out plasticmodelmojo.com, and there's several ways that you can get in touch with Mike. And who knows, you might be on his podcast one of these days soon. But plasticmodelmojo.com, they got Facebook and Twitter and all the different social links up there, and I'm sure he's got his email on there somewhere. So get in touch with him.
Well, I can give it. It's plasticmodelmojo@gmail.com, and you can also DM us through the Plastic Model Mojo Facebook page. So
there you go. So that's how you get in touch with him, Jim.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Absolutely. So what other surprises do you have for us in Madison waiting, Jeff?
Oh boy, do I want to give everything away?
You don't have to give everything away, but that's nice to know. We've got a display on the area. We got a contest area.
We got tiger meat. We have
you got tons of vendors.
This will make people happy.
Okay.
We have 400 vendor tables in a single room.
Nice.
So we're not going to have vendors kind of tucked away and hidden in little, side rooms and things of that nature. There is no bad seat in the vendor room. It is an absolutely tremendous building. And Monona Terrace Convention Center is a Frank Lloyd Wright design building. So it's cool just being in the building. Yeah. The architecture alone is really kind of cool. And the fact that we're having the greatest modeling contest in this hemisphere in this building overlooking Lake Monona in Madison in July is huge, and I've been making the running joke as I make my rounds on the different podcasts and interviews and things. There are two things that I can promise, only two. One is that the beer and the cheese are awesome, and it's not going to be as hot as it was in San Marcos. I promise you, it will not be.
Something's wrong.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? It'll be my luck. It's the one time Madison reaches 115 degrees, but no, it's we've got so many different things on tap, and part of the logic behind that was every year the Nationals do a survey. IPMS USA does a survey after the Nationals, and they ask the people that attend the convention, what did you like? What did you dislike? What would you change if you had the opportunity? And we went in and we sat down and we looked at probably 8 or 9 years of those after action reports. And, we tried to address those things. People wanted more seminars. Okay, you've got 3 times more seminars. People wanted tours that not only were of interest to the people that are attending, but their kids or their spouses. So we've got 4 tours. We've got one going to the Harley Davidson Museum, which whether you're a motorcycle enthusiast or not, going to the Harley Davidson Museum is just, it's cool as hell. I mean, you get to see all those vintage bikes from the 20s. You get to see the different bikes that they used in World War II. You get to see, movie bikes and things of that nature. Easy Rider, the 2 choppers from Easy Rider are there and on display. And then we have a tour going to the EAA Museum up in Oshkosh. You get a VIP tour of the EAA Museum. That includes a sit-down dinner, so you get to experience Wisconsin fish fry, which is really kind of cool. And then for the spouses, we have a tour going to Wallersheim Winery, so you can put your wife or your girlfriend on the drunk bus and and she goes off and comes back and pours her out at the hotel, you're good to go. You got the whole day to yourself.
And you can come spend all your money at the squadron booth while she's over there.
There you go. And no one will be the wiser because she'll be hammered and won't remember. And then we have a tour set up for the kids as well. We have a bus going to Wisconsin Dells to the water park. So if you're bringing your kids with you and they're bored and want something to do, you can send them to the water park and let them play at the Wisconsin Dells for a day.
Nice.
So those are all things that we've got going on. We've got a concert on the roof on Thursday night. We coordinated with the city of Madison and the Department of Tourism. Monona Terrace is a multi-level facility, and they have this absolutely amazing vista rooftop, and they bring in nationally recognized recording artists to do concert in the park. And so we've got a concert on the roof on Thursday night.
Nice.
I don't know who it's going to be yet. They've promised me that it won't be Taylor Swift. So that's a good thing. But we don't know. It could be rock, it could be jazz, could be blues, could be, I told them no Oompa Loompa music and no Zydeco and no bluegrass, but we don't know who they're going to get. Last year, the weekend that we're taking, or the week that we're taking, they brought in a band called Madison County, which apparently is an award-winning country rock band. So, we've got stuff like that going on. I'm trying to think, the seminars, the classes. Rick Lawler will be doing 4 days of his seminar. We've got Martin Drayton from MD Scale Models. He'll be doing a seminar on his diorama work. We have Chris Henry, who's the director of the EAA Museum in Oshkosh. He's coming down doing 3 separate aircraft lectures and seminars on the B-17, the F-4U Corsair, which was flown by, I'm going to screw it up. It was flown by one of the guys that were portrayed in the movie Devotion. So they went through their flight logs and found out that one of the guys who was one of the characters in Devotion actually flew this aircraft. So he's going to do a seminar about that. And then obviously their B-17. Mike will love this one with his interest in naval aviation. We've got Taras Lysenko coming. Taras is the guy responsible for pulling all of the U.S. Navy aircraft out of the Great Lakes.
Oh, wow.
And restoring and dealing with the Navy, because the Navy for a while there was allowing these guys to do it. And then they were saying this is Navy property, and they took them back after the guys had done the work. But Terrace's current project is trying to recover TBD Devastators from Lexington's debris field in the Coral Sea. So cool. he's going to be talking about those recovery efforts and the different projects that he's spearheaded. Oh, wow. So we got a really diverse cross section of seminars and presenters. We've got guys doing airbrush seminars, and we've got guys talking about recovering aircraft from the bottom of the Great Lakes, and everything else in between. The biggest fear that I have is that there's going to be too many good things to do, and people are going to get upset because they're not going to be able to take it all in.
Yeah, got to pick and choose.
Mike, you want to come run my vendor booth for me so I can go check out all the all the seminars?
Yeah. I'm even doing.
I'd be afraid of you might have to have a flash sale so I could get away and sell all your stuff and come to the seminar too.
Yeah, sell it all. I'd be having to look in the back of your car probably.
Yeah.
Well, here's another little bit of something that I'm unfortunately not going to be able to hang around up there for a week to see, but perhaps some people that have the opportunity to go up to Wisconsin and stay for a week or two, tell everybody what's happening the very next weekend about an hour away from you.
Well, the National Convention closes on Saturday night, and we're going to give y'all Sunday to kind of rest and recover. And then Monday, Airventure, EAA Oshkosh, the world's largest air show, opens up about 90 minutes to the northeast. So I do know there's a lot of folks that are coming to the national convention who have told me that they're staying and are going to be moving on to Oshkosh. This is probably, if you're coming here for the national convention, fight tooth and nail to get that extra week off, save your pennies, maybe not spend as much in the model room. I know I shouldn't say that because I want you guys to all make money and be profitable and make it worth your while. But, to be able to go and do both of those events, on the same ticket it's honestly, it's a once in a lifetime experience. So, and there's all kinds of rumors about some of the new stuff, some of the new warbird restorations that are coming off the line, that are hinting at appearing.
That would be the place.
So this is, there aren't many places left where you can, walk down a lineup of P-51s and, a couple P-47s, a couple Hellcats, a whole bunch of Corsairs, Bearcats, Tiger Cats. I mean, it's just an aviation dream come true. And that's only if you're into warbirds. I mean, you could literally spend the entire week there and not see everything.
Wow.
Yeah, it's something.
Well, there you go. Mike, you ever been to anything like that? Do any warbird real plane shows?
I've not been to Oshkosh, but I've been to the, I don't know if they even still have it, but they're just the Dayton Air Show.
Yep.
Was a good one to go to. I've been to that a couple of times. It's been a long time though. I have to say that's been a real long time.
The best way to do it, and I've had a couple of guys tell me, I can do one or the other. I can't do both. I've got the time, but the resources. Throw everything in your car, throw everything in the back of your truck, find a campground that's 10 miles out of town and camp, and then do the same thing when you go up to Oshkosh. 2 weeks of camping is the same as 4 days in a hotel in Madison, and you get to do everything. And you kind of get the freedom.
That's a good point.
That's and I have to say I'm kind of spoiled. I mean, I'm at the EAA museum on a fairly regular basis. I've crawled in and out of all their aircraft, and I know the museum staff up there quite well. And you go to the show and you just see people, and it's like when you see someone in the city for the first time. You can always tell a tourist in New York City because they're all looking up. Because they're looking up at the skyscrapers. It's the same thing at Oshkosh. You see people, and they're just walking around like zombies, and their eyes are wide and their cameras are in front of them. And but it's an absolute, it's kind of like a Roman spectacle of aviation. It really is. It's just, and every time you walk around a corner, you see something that's just, mind blowing. For me, it was coming around the corner last year, and there was a grove of trees, and I went to get a bottle of water, and I got my bottle of water, and I walked around the corner, and right there, sitting there, was a de Havilland 98, the DH-98, that twin engine, kind of looks like a Whirlwind, civilian version of the Whirlwind. And parked right next to it was a Dragon Repeat. And I was just, because there's only a handful of these aircraft that are left in the world, and they all come together in one place at one time. It's just absolutely mind-boggling.
Wow.
Sounds like a good add-on to the Nationals.
Yeah. Like Dave said in the chat, it's an absolute must-attend at least once in your lifetime.
Yep. Well, that's awesome. That's exciting. I hope a lot of guys get to go see that after the Nationals. I will be back in Georgia.
Can't stay at my house. I've had guys saying they're going to camp out on my lawn so they can go to Oshkosh.
Well, there you go. Well, Mike, have you got anything? Is there anything exciting for the podcast coming up soon? Anything that our guys should keep an eye out for? Any special shows coming up that you're particularly excited about?
Well, I've got the interview section of our next episode left to edit. I finished the main core segments tonight, right before we hopped on here. But we've got Paul Budzik was with us for an interview recently. Well, just a few days ago, last weekend, and that's going to be in episode 108. Just for me anyway, he's a patriarch of the hobby. If you're not familiar with him, go back and look at his old fine scale articles from the 80s and early 90s, and then his YouTube channel is Scale Model Workshop.
Yep.
And it's a mixture of really high level technical building with a lot of really good philosophical wisdom thrown in, and it was just a real thrill to have him on the show, and we just really had a great time. So that's coming up.
Awesome.
As far as we're concerned, shows, hopefully if we make all these, we will be at Heritage Con in Hamilton, Ontario in March. We will be at the AMPS International Convention in South Bend, Indiana. Those are pretty close together, actually, March and April. We're trying to get both of us at Wonderfest this year. I don't know. That's going to be tight for me, but it's easy for Dave being right there in town. IPMS National Convention, of course. And then we're really trying to get the MMSI figure show in Chicagoland in the fall. So those are the big ones we're trying to get to. And unfortunately, I don't know how many of the small invitationals we're going to get to make this year. We normally go to Indianapolis here coming up fairly soon in the first part of the year. It's really close to Heritage Con, and I think that's going to be tough to do. And then our show, the Military Models Club of Louisville, has their show in September. We hosted the Region 4 Regional last year. It was a good show, and I'll be at that one for sure. And I don't know, it's Cincinnati, maybe. It's also at a little small aviation museum up outside of the greater Cincinnati area. That one's a fun one to go to. It's as many as we can get to, but we have our eye on the prizes this year. We're trying to get to a lot of the bigger shows that are in the Eastern United States this year.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Well, guys, go to these shows and look for the Plastic Model Mojo.
Thank you.
Say hey to Mike.
All right.
Yeah, and make sure to check him out. Remember, plasticmodelmojo.com. Go follow his new YouTube channel. He would appreciate that, I'm sure. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that interview you've got coming up. When's that going to be posted?
Should drop Friday. I got tomorrow to finish the interview section, stitch it all together, and that's our normal drop day. It's Friday,
Okay.
12 a.m.
Nice. All right.
So
well, I'll be
the
looking
guys in the
forward
other
to that.
hemisphere will get it first, but it's just a good time for us to do it.
Okay. Well, that'll be good. And as far as the IPMS show this year goes, nats2024.com is where you can find out all the information for the IPMS National Convention that is this year. It is July 17th through the 20th. And pretty much everything you need to know about the show is on the website. You can find out where it's at, hotels, see all the vendors that are there. The only one that's really important is Squadron, just so you know. But no, actually, there are always so many good vendors at these shows, and not just vendor. Squadron, we're a vendor that sells models, but you also get to meet some of the manufacturers. Tamiya, for example, Tamiya is always a big sponsor of the show. They're always there. They're always showing off really nice, built-up examples of their newest kits. They're there. You get to meet some of the manufacturers from overseas. The guys from Edward are always there. The guys from Special Hobby are always there. So the vendor room is really, really something special. Oftentimes it's referred to as the largest hobby shop in the country, or maybe in the world. And if, Jeff, you've got 400 vendor tables, that's probably a pretty accurate statement.
Yeah, right now we are, we did have a cancellation, so we're back down, we're at 296 right now. But we're 3/4 sold out.
Sure.
Already, and we're still 6 months out. So there's no question in our minds that we're going to max that out.
Yep. It's going to be good.
Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, guys, is there anything else that you would like to mention, ask, talk about?
For me, it's just, this has been kind of a rough year for the hobby as a whole. We've kind of kept our heads down and kept focused on the task at hand, which is putting on a really good national convention. And, we want to extend that invitation that, you come to Madison, you're going to have a good time. If you don't have a good time at Madison, it's not because we didn't give you the opportunities. We're at a world-class location. We got a phenomenal convention center. We got tons of programs, great tours, dinner on the rooftop, concert in the park, Capitol Square. I mean, if you're a foodie, there's just an amazing number of restaurants that are all within walking distance. Capitol Square is the home of, some of the best microbrewers in the country. If you don't have a good time, it's your fault. It really is, because even when we go there and we're working, we're having a good time. So I just can't wait to see everybody, and it's going to be a great show. I got a good feeling about it.
Well, I know I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure everybody else is too, and hopefully a few people that didn't know anything about it an hour ago are figuring out how they can get there.
That's right. Well, I just added, Jeff, I think you've done a great job at keeping your head down, paying attention to the task at hand with all the chaff that's been flying around in some corners. But we're really looking forward to it. I'm really anxious to see how the tweaks you've made to the show format with the extra seminars, the display only area, and all the other stuff you got going on. It seems like a great town. I've never been to Madison. I've only been to where's Pabst? Milwaukee, or they were, I guess.
Madison,
I've been to Milwaukee. I've not been to Madison.
Madison's a bit more of a party town than Milwaukee is. That is for sure. I mean, it's a college town. UW Madison is right there, right on the edge of the center of town. It's a lively town. It's an active town. There's always something going on. There's always 1,001 things to do. And even off the Capitol Square, I mean, if you're driving, if you decide you're going to come up, bring a cooler with you. Not for beer and cheese curds. Well, not for beer and cheese curds, but the largest farmers market in the Midwest happens on Capitol Square in Madison on Saturday. So, you want to stock up on everything. I mean, they call it a farmers market, but I mean, it's you can get anything. It's going to be crazy. It really is. It's going to be fun.
And to add one last thing, what you're saying about the restaurants and the microbrews and all the other peripheral activities going on, not necessarily slated with the show, your tours and things, those are all important too, but just the local flavor. That's one thing Dave and I always try to emphasize when we're doing our show coverage. We've done it for Omaha and San Marcos in particular, just to get out, and you may never get to this town again for whatever reason. It would be unfortunate to spend the entire time at the hotel or the convention floor. Things shut down, the vendor room closes, the model room closes, and you've got some hours there to kill and go find dinner and check out what's going on. Really encourage it, because it's a good way to see what else is going on around the show and in the host city.
Yeah. And it's, again, one of my major goals, and I know, Brandon, we're over time here. I apologize, but one of the major goals of this was to really emphasize the social aspects of the national convention, because the overwhelming response from people that have attended the conventions is they go there to see their friends. They go there for the social aspect of the national convention. I'm not implying in any way, shape, or form that we're trying to de-emphasize the contest, because I don't think that's necessary. I think we just need to bring everything else up to its level. So that's where we're at. And I know Dave or Greg had asked if you don't mind me giving a plug.
Yeah, I just messaged it back to him, but yeah, Go ahead, plug yourself.
My paint company is Scale Colors, and it's scalecolors.com, all one word. I do mostly ship colors, but I do have a selection of aircraft, and I have about 150 colors in production right now. They're all airbrush ready. They're all hard polymer acrylic. So they spray, they spray like the old polyscale stuff, but when they dry, there you go, right there. When they dry hard like an enamel, so you can feather them and sand them and do all that fun stuff. And then SC3D Tracks, which is another division of the company. I produce 35th scale workable track links for armor kits. The website's down right now because I'm migrating the DNS server, but it should be up within 24 hours or so.
There you go. I guess that's it, guys. Everybody come to the Nationals this year. Everybody check out Mike's podcast. Fridays, this coming Friday. That's a good one I'm excited about to hear from Paul. And I guess that's about it for tonight if you guys don't have anything else.
Nah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll do it again sometime. And Jeff, I'll probably get you back on here in a few months and see if you've gone nuts yet, and see how the convention's
you got to define
up.
Nuts. I was nuts when I started. I was nuts for starting and agreeing to this.
Yeah.
But my team will say it was totally my idea, and I hope they still like me after all of this is said and done.
Awesome. Well, guys, I'll pull you off of here. If you'll stay backstage for a minute, I'll speak with you after I end the show, and that'll be great.
Absolutely.
So thank you guys so much for coming on with us.
Pleasure. Mike, take care.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. That was a lot of fun. I hope that you learned something that you didn't know about model shows, and you've got another podcast to listen to now. I hope you'll check out the Plastic Model Mojo and see what Mike has been up to. His stuff's really good, so take a listen and see what you think. And I wanted to thank everybody sincerely for tuning into this show and for tuning in and subscribing to Squadron TV in general. Today we hit a milestone. We passed 10,000 subscribers. So I thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to this show going forward in the future, the channel. I've got a lot of new things coming. We just added this week, I just started doing the What's New This Week video, and my first one was a little rough. I had some audio problems, but I'll get there. I'm going to try to show just a quick overview each week of what the new products are. And then, of course, continue the What's in the Box videos to give you a real close look at what you could expect to get in a box. The latest one, of course, being the USS Midway that I posted last week, shaping up to be a really great kit. If you pre-ordered one of those, make sure to log into your account at squadron.com and check it out. You might be surprised what happened to that today. So anyway, y'all take it easy, build some models, and I'll see you again next Wednesday. I really appreciate it.